I have Superintendent Nichols and Director Santos in the booth with me. Welcome back. This is our third, I think. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
So tomorrow is Election Day, and we have a drop box here in the JCPenney parking lot, and there's one on Mill Street, which is just east of Sunny Farms. What would you like to tell to all of our listeners?
Well, first of all, we'd like to share that it is the special election tomorrow, and we hope everyone can find those ballots. So if they're on the counter, if they're in the mailbox, if they're sitting on a bedside table, we hope folks can pull them out and make their decision and turn those in. Especially with the sunny skies of this week, getting to the ballot boxes will be easier than last week.
Okay. And you have to have your ballot in a drop box by 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., they come and take the ballots, and you can't drop it in. Now, I think that if you drop it in the mail today, it still might be a little precarious.
From what I understand, the postmarks do make the difference.
Yes.
And so any postmarked ballot will be counted.
Yes. So mark that ballot. And we have been talking the past two times about this is for a bond and a levy. And the bond has to have 60% plus one, which can be challenging.
So that is a supermajority for the bond, and it is a challenge in Washington State. We are hopeful today, and thank you for having us, so that we can share information so people can make the best decision for them.
Now, the levy only needs 50%, but
Correct.
Plus one. But
Yes.
the bond is now. How does a good school system impact the value of people's homes?
Well, we do know that communities that have thriving schools tend to have employment opportunities that arise and have good job fill rates. We know that folks that are very involved with thriving schools have ability to participate within the schools and help make good decisions about the future of those schools. We, of course, want all of that community engagement here in Sequim and try to provide those avenues. We also know that folks do look at schools when choosing where to live and make the decision based on how school facilities certainly appear and provide a certain environment for their child. But the levy is for what goes on inside the school and how schools are providing programming, care for children, providing new opportunities matters just as much. So we're working just as hard on the inside as we are for the bond for the outside.
Yeah, levies are for learning and bonds are for buildings. And I just wanted to interject here that if you haven't been to a performance at the Sequim High School senior class is presenting Squimderella, a Sequim Cinderella story written by the members of the senior class this year, and performances are Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m. with a matinee on Sunday at 2 p.m. Tickets are $15 for adults and $12 for youth and students, and you can purchase them at the door or online at squimschools.org under ticket events. And the Sequim School High School Auditorium is located at 601 North Sequim Avenue. So if you haven't been to a performance, of course, by then the election will be over. But hopefully you have attended a performance and you can see the lovely auditorium as it is.
Yes, and also to know that activities such as our senior play are levy-funded activities. The state of Washington only partially funds programming in schools, and levy funds are critically important for our drama clubs, music, athletics, all of those extras, and also some programs that people might think are fully funded that aren't. Nurses and counselors, technology.
See, nurses, that surprised me because I thought that the state, being a nurse myself, I thought that schools paid for school nurses, but they don't.
Partially. We have one school nurse in the entire Sequim School District, and we have health clerks who support her work, and that whole team is partially funded through our levy. There are teaching positions that are levy funded as well. We have to remember that the way the state apportionment works is that there is a formula, and the formula allows for certain numbers of positions to be considered, and the rate at which the state apportions for those is not what is a full payment compared to what is earned by each of these employees. So it's a real challenge, but Sequim School District has been very supportive of levies in the past 2 decades, and we just want to say thank you for that and look forward to people casting their votes for what's coming next.
And the levy is just a renewal of a levy that's already in place.
Correct. There is a slight increase to the renewal. We traditionally run 4-year levies in Sequim School District. This year is no different. And there is a 7 cents per thousand increase. And that is allowable because in Washington State, there is a cap on levies. And the 7 cent allows a Sequim School District to reach the cap.
Okay, so levies are for learning. Director Santos, you're the building expert. What would you like to say about the importance of the bond?
So I want to say, first of all, thanks for having us back. And I want to make sure that since we're thanking folks out there in the community, I want to thank the local sports groups for putting it out there over the weekend and supporting us, the community groups, that is. And I want to also thank all of our, great folks that went out there and put the Vote Yes signs out here around town. I just saw a couple of them coming in today. I think it's really great. But importance-wise, it all boils down to obsolescence and sustainability, really. Maintainability is kind of an overgeneral term, but when you're talking about the ability to repair, when you're talking about the ability to sustain and operate these older facilities, it really is a zero-sum game, because there does come a point where something breaks so badly that you can't fix it. And I've made those points over the last few months about some of our critical infrastructure items that we have, and how disruptive those catastrophic failures will be to the learning and the teaching that goes on in our district. So that's one aspect of it. That's the OPEX, or the operational expenses. But it's also important to note that modernizing these schools by replacing them also reduces our overall operating expenses. These old leaky schools that we're looking to replace consume a tremendous amount of energy. And they consume a tremendous amount of energy to ventilate. They consume a tremendous amount of energy to heat. And we're faced today with the Clean Buildings Act, which is going to really challenge us to try to bring those facilities into state compliance. And that is just one thing. But overall, just the operating expenses of the facilities, whether you're talking about maintenance or utility cost, is incredibly important, because the money that we're spending today is often 2 to 4 times what we would spend on a modern facility. So if you look at the cost per square foot basis of what we spend at Holler, or what we spend at the high school versus what we spend at Gray Wolf or the middle school, they're not even close. So we it's 3 to 4 times those 2 other schools than we spend at those 2 middle-aged schools. And furthermore, that even those 2 middle-aged schools are in need of a midlife refit as well.
Yeah, they're like,
that's
Gray Wolf is what, 29 years old, I think I've heard you say?
built in 90, yeah, the as-built.
Yeah, so just like a house, you have ongoing maintenance and things that need to be repaired and upgraded.
The point of having our constituents understand how expensive it is to maintain these older, outdated, and aged out buildings is those operational funds should be being poured back into the student body, okay, in one way or another. It should be used to upgrade and modernize other facilities across the district. And unfortunately, right now, it's being used to great extent to repair catastrophic failures and to keep 2 aged out facilities on life support.
I was just going to say life support. That's what you're spending the money on, is life
Yes,
support.
It is. And unfortunately, it's not going to get any better. if we don't replace these two schools. So the point we're trying to make here with the statement of we spend X amount of dollars on two old schools is it should be going back into the student body, and or being used to modernize in one shape or form another science classroom at, let's say, the middle school. So there are no set aside dollars, if you will, that we can see that would take the current OPEX, the operational expenses, and use them to recapitalize the other schools. And that unfortunately, because of the fact that we're maintaining these two outdated schools, is a problem. I mean, it's a real challenge for us to try to look at a master plan and say, okay, these are the things that need to happen, and this is how they're going to get funded. So, we have to solve that riddle, and part of that is passing this bond and taking those two older schools out of service and educating our students in modern facilities.
Well, I mentioned when you were here the last time that I went on one of the tours, and I was just shocked at the state of some of the facilities. I mean, reading about it in the paper and hearing you talk about it is one thing. So I hope that voters that are out there took advantage of that opportunity to actually eyeball and see what is going on. The transfer, whatever station, whatever, they want to put that in a museum because they don't have one that old. I mean, that's amazing. But
well, it's a testament to how well the facilities have been maintained over the years. We have received quite a bit of criticism about the amount of maintenance that is perceived given to the district and how much of it's being done. But I have to tell you that the facility group, including our lead custodians, perform miracles every day, and they have been for decades. The fact that these schools are still in operation, the lights are still on, the water's still running, and the black water's still going to the sewer and so on is a testament to how hard they work every day to ensure that that we keep the doors open. It's not sustainable, all right, but the fact is we're working very hard today to keep those facilities open, and it's important that our constituents know that.
Yeah. Superintendent Nichols, you look like you have something right on the tip of your tongue that you wanted to share. How does this levy and bond total compare with what has been, let me see, 2020 was?
Well, the combined rate for the levy and the bond is coming in as a proposal for $1.85. This, of course, is less than the $1.96 that was asked back in 2020. So the tax rate responsibility has been a priority of the long-range planning group. But how we compare to our neighboring districts, we'd like folks to know that $2.26 per thousand is the average of the surrounding Clallam County districts. Once again, Sequim at $1.85 combined is substantially less than that average. But we also know that our neighbors in Port Angeles were fortunate enough to pass both a levy and a school construction bond in November, and the rate is $2.70 per thousand for that effort. We definitely recognize the Olympic Peninsula has so much synergy right now between, for instance, success of Port Angeles with their bond. We have the Economic Development Council and the Recompete grant for millions of dollars here on the peninsula. We have Peninsula College that's seeing just a boost in their enrollment and programming that is substantial. And we'd like Sequim School District to be a part of this movement forward of getting our peninsula programs modernized and making sure our facilities are meeting the needs of all the programming. And we'll be a partner with Peninsula College with our new CTE building, for instance.
Oh, okay.
So that programming and having partnerships across the community is very important to us.
One of the things that a lot of students take advantage of is Running Start. And they get college credits. They go to Peninsula College, and it cuts down on the cost of education after they graduate. I know some people that have done that.
We have over 60 students who attend
Really?
Running Start at Peninsula College, either for one course or for a series of courses. And that partnership is something that we continue to say, yes, we'd like to support it. But what folks might not also know is that we have partnerships with other college and university programs, Eastern Washington University, UW. We make sure that we're looking through CTE also. What programs could we have with Olympic College in Bremerton, or having Yakima Valley College for vet science, making sure that we're reaching out and finding opportunities.
Now, what does CTE mean? I'm
It's a career and technical education.
Oh.
It's the vocational programming that we would have described in the past. And our career and technical ed programming is very strong in the district. And our facilities, of course, need to be modernized enough to be able to have us look into the next age, especially around science and biomedical sciences and computer use, digital media.
okay. All right, Director Santos, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think the superintendent said it perfectly.
Yeah, it's just really important that everyone get their ballot in the drop box by 8 o'clock tonight.
You know, I'm sometimes asked about the way that the funding is required for bond support and construction. And there have been folks who have said, we just wish there were other avenues. So I just want to put out there that it is actually a legislative requirement that the way school construction is funded through bonds occur through a special election. So that's why we're engaged in this process. But also for folks to know that we're not stopping here. We continue to apply for grant money. The new career and technical education building that will be built was funded through a state capital grant. So we're very pleased about that. Plus, we had a significant donor who came forward with $1 million toward that project. We also currently have a grant for $12 million being reviewed right now at OSPI, and we should hear on that in a couple of weeks. And that is for small school, either modernization or some of these Band-Aid fixes that we need to address. And we were limited to $12 million. Director Santos had a list that was already up to $23 million in need, and he hadn't stopped. So we absolutely are looking for these grants. But it's important to know that grant money is reimbursement based. So the school district has to carry the cost until we can put in for the grant and have that be reimbursed. And that's a real challenge for school districts. And to have enough money to actually launch school construction is really greater than these grants are approved for. So I want everyone to have confidence that we are looking for funding streams that absolutely are possible. Secondly, I would like folks to know that the residential construction that is expected in the city of Sequim and in the county is substantial. And with every new residence that is built, that will bring on additional tax-paying citizens, and that will assist in reducing the rate of our taxation over time. And that has been a projection that we've been making because of history. It's already been what's true in our school district for a number of years. So we do hope that that construction over the next 5 to 8 years will continue to bring that pattern.
Okay, well, so right now we are looking with the bond and the levy, there's $1.85 total that you're asking, and you need a 60% supermajority for the bond and a 50% plus one for the levy. Election day is tomorrow.
That's right, and we are certainly appreciative of everyone who has cast their ballot. We appreciate you being involved in that civic process, and we'd like to give you an invitation. You know, tonight we have an exciting event on tap. We have our boys varsity basketball team playing Bremerton, and for those out there who may not know, our boys basketball team has an incredible record this season, has at times been tied for first place in our conference, and Bremerton is currently in first place with our boys in second. So it's a big night. We'd love to have everyone
A little
come
bit
out.
of competition
7
there.
p.m.
Yeah,
That's
7
right.
p.m.
JV will be at 5:15, and that will be an exciting game as well.
Okay. Director Santos, would you like to say anything before we say goodbye to our listeners?
Sure. So I'll make one more point about grants. We're going to be applying very soon for an emergency repair grant to OSPI. We had a failure. We had a catastrophic failure of part of Helen Holler's vault about a week and a half ago. And this is one of the systems that I've been talking about for
That
a while.
you have to pump it up
Yes.
hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
half of it did fail on us. We are looking to get it repaired. But in order to get it repaired, we are going to have to file an emergency repair grant with OSPI and apply for the funds. Again, it's a reimbursable grant, so the district is still going to have to carry the cost. After we go through all the paperwork to apply for the grant, where they review our capital fund and so on. So it's an amazing effort just to apply for these grants at all. We don't have grant writers in the district. Thankfully, we have some very talented people in the district that do a great job writing these grants for us, and that's teaching staff, principal staff, and others. Thank goodness we have them, because we don't have technical writers or grant writers on staff. So it's important to note that even when we apply for these grants, which are direly needed, it takes a significant amount of hours and a significant effort and a significant amount of research and mining of data and so on in order to justify to the entity that you're applying to that you need this assistance. And even then, when it comes back, it's means tested. Mm-hmm. So it's a very competitive atmosphere, and it is not always available. So we are kind of under the thumb right now to get this emergency repair grant in, so OSPI doesn't run out of money before we apply. So these are some of the challenges that we're dealing with right now, and these grants most of the time that we're applying for are not what I call +1 grants. They're keep us afloat grants. Mm-hmm. All right, and they're not the grants that we would typically be applying for often if we had modernized facilities. So it's important that our folks understand that.
Okay, well, I hope that all of our listeners have a little bit better idea of the importance of the bond and the levy to keep the value of our community, of our homes up, the importance of education. And so find that ballot in that pile of mail that's in the island of your kitchen, or amidst all the newspapers that you haven't read. Fill it out and get it in a ballot box by 8 o'clock tomorrow. Ballot box, there's one here at Sequim Village Shopping Center, and there is one at Mill Road, which is just east of east of Sunny Farms. So this is a very important issue for our community.
Well, I would say that I have had such a pleasure in meeting so many folks as we've canvassed our community to talk with them about this, and we do appreciate all of the folks who have come out to informational sessions. But what we know next is that our students are going to be having an education that is supported and continually worked on by our amazing staff. And our teachers are going to be teaching their hearts out tomorrow, no matter what the outcome is. We just would love to be able to look into the future and involve the community in planning what is coming next.
Okay, so all you voters and if you live in the Sequim School District, you should have gotten a ballot and get it in a drop box.